sort of effortlessly do it, just as you do.
In your portfolio, then I would certainly go ahead and do it, even though you're not being paid for that. Fizz has gone back to the question of marketing. There are websites you can subscribe to as a freelancer. I mean, there's a couple. There's journalism.co.uk. There's Hold the Front Page. And I've got entries on both of them. They charge around about £50 per year for an entry on there. And you can put quite a lot of information about yourself. And you put links on there to your work, to your website. And that has actually brought in a bit of work for me over the last 2 or 3 years. So it's well worth doing that if you can afford to. But make sure that they're fairly credible websites. I know those two are very credible websites. I'll repeat the name: journalism.co.uk and holdthefrontpage.com or .co.uk.
It's .co.uk, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Another point about your freelance portfolio is that I think sometimes there's a sort of panic in the early days that it feels as if like everything that you tackle is new and individually sold and so on. Whereas obviously for many experienced writers, are dealing perhaps with editors that they know and have built up a relationship with, and at that sort of level, if there's only one of you rather than a team of writers, there are only so many customers you can look after anyway. So when you meet freelance journalists, there are plenty of them around, but most of them have a hard core of regular customers that keep them pretty busy. And there may be times, I don't know if you've found that as well, Nick, where you as a freelancer perhaps trading in a customer who perhaps has isn't paying the going rate or is harder to work for than another. But of course, I just meant that it's easier, that continuity, when you've actually been writing for a while. You don't really want to be waking up every day for the rest of your life thinking, right, I've got to make 20 cold calls to sell something today. I mean, we're not double glazing salesmen. We want regular commissions, and of course the dream job is perhaps a regular column that you're writing, for a number of years, and for a customer that you like working for or a subject. What about sport, Nick?
What about sport? I believe you're a sports writer at one stage. How did you get into that? My first job in journalism was working for a news agency or a press agency. And in those days, I don't know whether it's still the same now, but we're talking late 1980s, a lot of newspapers couldn't cover every sporting event. Or they couldn't physically get reporters to a midweek game in the second division or the third division, as it was called then. So it was a job of the news agency to send their people to local games, get orders in from newspapers, and then you would go out and cover a game. So I was very fortunate to go to, because I lived and worked in Birmingham, to Villa Park to watch Aston Villa, Birmingham City and West Bromwich Albion. But it was tough. It was very tough. It's not a walk in the park because you had all these orders from, say, 5 different organisations. So, for example, you had 3 reports to write for 3 different newspapers, and you had to try to make them every one unique. On top of that, you'd have to phone up, say, BBC CFAX with a goal flash. So that's something else you had to keep tabs on. And you'd maybe have to do a short radio report as well. So it wasn't just writing. It was all media used to contact us to provide them with some form of copy from the games. But despite that, it was enjoyable. Certainly, you know, a cold January Tuesday evening at St Andrews, Birmingham, during a 0-0 draw with Crewe, wasn't particularly amazing. But it was, you know, I met a lot of people, I made a lot of contacts, and I look back on it fondly. You know, I interviewed a lot of players, interviewed the managers, and yeah, it was a good job. But I used to envy the other football writers who used to sit alongside me in the press box, because they only had one piece to write for their newspaper, so they could be you know, they could be a little bit more elaborate in some of the phrases that they used in their reports, and mine was you know, pretty bog standard, really, because I had so much to do, you know, and not enough time to write like Ernest Hemingway. But it's certainly you know, a stage of my journalism career that I look back with great affection. Yes.
Just a bit to mention, sorry, just on the sports front, Nick. If you were interested in careers, it's not you know, just in terms of how do you get involved. There's a little profile on the website where we've been trying to pick up on former students, and one of those was Dean Wilson, that's now a cricket correspondent for the Mirror, and who also started out with agency, you know, doing the Haters teamwork. So just if you were interested in following through, I mean, I suppose, you know, his writing career was a classic, you know, straightforward student career, if you like, from the point of view of, you know, completed the LSJ course in 2002, went for work experience at Haters, convinced them to stay on, produce some good work for them, originally just boring matches and results and things like that, and then eventually bigger games and national teams and so on. Did a couple of contracts for them for papers like The Star and The People, by which stage he's obviously moving in the circles of the other sports reporters in that field, and ended up doing shifts for them, and then stepping into the cricket correspondent post at the Mirror, where I think his first day on the job was plane to Australia to cover the Ashes. So he's hardly been back in the country since. And he's about 28 now, so that's, you know, a great achievement for a young man, you know, to be on a Fleet Street National covering he's a former county cricketer. It's his beloved sport, you know, so it's just very nice when somebody makes it. But his story, if you like, is on the website, so you can see a few case studies of former students, if that helps.